No, when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was in such a scary movie.
So first question for the uninitiated, what is a horse girl?
Well, a horse girl is that girl you knew in middle school or high school. She loved riding horses. She wasn't very involved in a lot of the social scene at school. She had her own thing going on. She had a little bit of mystery to her. She didn't hang with the popular crowd. She wasn't exactly a nerd. She kind of did her own thing.
Quirky?
We try to steer away from the word quirky because
Well,
I
that's what I'm
feel
here.
like it's stigmatized to Sundance films.
No, it's not. But I represent the quirky organization.
Oh, great! Oh,
And they feel left out.
oh, okay. We'll put it.
So you can leave them
quirky.
out, but I'm with the quirky.
But who can identify as a horse girl?
I grew up in the city, and we had outside the supermarket. There was when I was like 4. There was like a little thing you put a quarter in the ear, and you sit on a horse, and it goes like that. So it's like not an actual horse, but horse enough.
There's a distinct energy that typically, you know, a horse girl maybe lives in their own sort of universe and in their own energetic field. And in that sense, I definitely was and maybe retain some elements of that.
I was more of a snack boy, so I ate a lot
Snack
of
boy.
snacks. Charleston Chews was my friend. Yeah.
Has there been a movie called Snack Boy?
That's our
should
next.
be.
We're
yeah.
working on it.
Maybe we'll go on that hike, me, you, and Jeff.
Snack Boy.
Next collaboration.
There was Bubble Boy. Sorry.
There was. We try not to think about it.
I think, how dare you? I think that
Bad
one of
Boys. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Right.
And the most recent.
That was one too
Bad
much.
Boys 2.
One
I'm
too-
so
oh,
sorry.
Bad Boy. There you
Rule
go.
of 3.
We're toppling the movie patriarchy now with Horse Girl.
Boy Meets World.
There you go. Oh, thank you for bringing it back. Full circle.
Go. Did you
Did I have questions about your film? I do actually. No. There's lots of interesting and fun things about this film, but one of which being most of it was improv. Were you nervous introducing improv, and how did you keep it kind of from going to left or to right?
No, I wasn't nervous. I think every movie has different energy. I feel like otherwise, that's why I want to make it, because it's something that I feel like it's sort of new to explore. And then exactly what you're describing, I think, is pretty much like 75% of directing, is like making sure the performances and all the elements kind of line up to maintain that tone that you're trying to get. So.
I also feel like the way that Baina does improv, it's not as loosey-goosey as we think of like long-form improv scenes where people are just talking about whatever and then they spin off into something else and the director's like, just go with it. Certainly with The Little Hours and with this, we had a very detailed outline, and even within the scenes, very detailed what the characters were there to talk about. And the objective is more just to have the actors put the phrasing in their own words.
I mean, we wrote it together, so she was on the other side of the camera. So that's a big difference between Little Hours and Joshi, where I actually collaborated with one of the actors beforehand, and so she was sort of like the inside man, knowing like how to sort of guide the scene as well.
And on The Little Hours, you were always, when you would run in to give a note about the dialogue, you would always strip it away and take it away. And it always amazed me how quiet a lot of the movie turns out, so that when you watch it, it actually doesn't really feel unscripted at all. And so I feel like in that way, shooting The Little Hours almost felt like a drama, because what my character was going through in that movie was dramatic, so it didn't feel very different at all.
When they screened this film, a lot of people were laughing and having fun, and then when we all left and spoke about it, people were like, I feel really bad for laughing in the first half of this film. Yes, I'm curious, was that your intent, Jeff, to like kind of hook people and then be like, guess what, it's unraveling?
I mean, there definitely is an element of bait and switch, I think, from the beginning to where it ends up going. So you kind of like ease into it and you kind of allow yourself to, I guess, accept the reality of the movie. But it wasn't like, let's mess with people by making them laugh and then feel bad about laughing as much. I think tonally, what I was trying to go for was something a little bit more neutral than just a straight up drama. There's a way for this movie to have been treated where it would be, I guess, a little bit more melodramatic. And then, to me, I feel like that's more of a disservice to her character, because that feels like it's treating it with kid gloves and it's almost like condescending. Like, I wanted to kind of create it so that you have enough room to breathe and it feels like it's happening in a real world situation, so that everything has higher stakes.
I also feel like a main objective was to have the audience really go on the ride with Sarah. And so part of this idea of having the movie start out a little lighter and a bit more comedically, it's kind of like makes the audience feel very safe. You know, you recognize me, you see me and Molly in a sweet scene, kind of joking around, you feel very comfortable, you're watching a sweet comedic indie, and you feel safe the way the character feels safe. And then as things start to go off the rails, she doesn't expect it to happen, you don't, and we want, you know, the audience to kind of, yeah, just follow her journey. How
did making this film change your own opinions and thoughts about mental health in America right now?
In America. Take it, Alison.
Well, I'm not going to dive into the country's state, but a lot of the character backstory is very personal to myself. My grandmother lived with paranoid schizophrenia, and I grew up hearing stories about that from my mother, and so that was a big part of why I wanted to write this movie. You know, it's an artistic manifestation of my personal fear about having mental illness in my bloodline and what that might do to me, and the terrifying nature of not being able to trust your own mind and your own DNA. And so that was kind of the jumping off point. If anything, you know, I think we wanted to approach it really from a place of empathy, and by putting the audience in the character's shoes, you know, we're hoping that they're not standing back and judging her and feeling bad about laughing. Hopefully they're laughing with her at the start of the movie and not at her, and that it can make people realize how scary it actually is to live with mental illness.
In addition to that,
or can be.
A person that is suffering or dealing with some of these issues is a real person that has a rich life. So it's not all just misery and drama in their life. There are high points and there's joy. And so I think depriving a character of that in a movie feels a little bit sort of, I think, like inauthentic.
There's a scene with John at a date that is particularly harrowing to watch. It was. I'm curious, what was that like filming that? And especially since you kind of know where it's going, and maybe he doesn't know, or he has the outline.
Sure, John, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, I know my character was just sort of a broken guy who is so drawn to Alison because her character's like sweet, and he's happy to be with someone nice. So I think he like unwittingly like just wants it to go well. So he's just going along with everything that she's saying, and then it takes such a dark turn. It's like a really slow downward spiral into realizing like this isn't okay, and it reaches a head. And the actual filming of it was insane because Alison was so good. So it was like she would go from like a 10, and then it'd be like cut. And she'd be like, "How's your girlfriend?" And I was like, "Well, you need like a second to chill out." But yeah, it was really fun to shoot that.
Yeah, it was just it was hard to. It was really a powerful scene, especially when they end up going to the graveyard.
We're gonna have to watch this movie.
Have you not seen it?
We can't wait to see it. No, we're not allowed.
Oh wow, because your characters are such the emotional touchstone of the film. You just want her to run to them. I'm curious, what was it also like being in this film? And have you ever done this much improv on a scene on a set before?
Well, yes, I have with Jeff. Because we did the Little Hours, and Life After Beth together. So yes, we've done a lot of improv together.
Yeah.
I want to clarify one thing, but the word improv I think is a little bit too loose because I would say, well, what happens in this scene? And Jeff would say, you know, she's your daughter, and you know, just go in, you know, sit in the car and say you're worried about her and offer her money. Action. And I say, you know, I'm worried about you. Here's some money. Cut. No. So it's not improv so much as he's too lazy to type. If he would just type it out, he'd have a script. But no, he's got enough things to do. So he's just here. You say it, and then I say it, and then we all say it, and then there's a movie.
But then you don't have to memorize any lines
True.
until you're there on the day.
You don't have to memorize anything.
That's right.
Until you're in the moment.
On the other hand, you are busy, distracted, thinking, what's happening here? So there's that.
It's true, but I think it really heightens all your senses. And don't you find it makes you very much in the moment? You're like, what's she going to say to me?
Yes, but I'll tell you what really makes it, and then this is serious, is it's for any actor, the best thing is to be in the hands of a confident director. And Jeff is so calm and smart and knows what vision he wants. So even if I feel lost and floundering, which I might sometimes, I go, he wouldn't put it in if it wasn't what he wanted. And then you look at the thing together, all these disparate pieces, and you go, oh, that's a really cool movie. Look what he did. They did.
Thank you.